Progress.
Someone's echoing. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the District 18 Showcase. My name is Wesley Gibbs. I am the District 18 Club Growth Director. We have an exciting agenda for you where this is the opportunity for club sponsors, club champions, and anyone who is interested in understanding how a demo meeting is conducted. Demo meetings are critical to chartering a club. It gives an insight to new and prospective members on how a typical Toastmaster meeting is conducted from start to finish. And let's go ahead and begin. I'll go ahead and kick the agenda down to our Toastmaster of the day. Please help me welcome Cynthia Williams. Cynthia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me. I am audible and visual, correct? Excellent. I'm going to make a small correction. I love the D. So I am going to say my name is Cynthia D. Williams, and I'm going to serve as your Toastmaster today, Toastmaster of the day. Our hopes that we would have a great meeting today. So we're going to get right into it. This is a demonstration meeting, as Wesley mentioned, where we are trying to share with you what we do in Toastmasters and why you should be here today, why you should join Toastmasters rather. In Toastmasters, we're going to put on an abbreviated meeting. Then we're going to turn it over to our club growth director that's going to take us a step further and answer any Q&As that you may have. And then again, emphasize why you should be in Toastmasters, or at least have Toastmasters in your organization. Wes, if you could put the agenda in the chat box for us, please, we will get started. So as Toastmaster today, I will lead the call. I will lead the meeting. And in Toastmasters, we have three portions that you're going to witness today in this meeting. We're going to do a prepared speech section, which is our first portion. The second portion is going to be table topics, led by our table topics master. And then the final session is where we grow as Toastmasters, and that's our evaluations. So I don't do this alone, so you don't have to hear my voice all the time. I do have a huge team and a very experienced team. So with that, let me introduce two of the team members, and we're going to start with our counter grammarian. That's two rows with one person, and then we're going to talk to our timer as well. In that order, the counter grammarian, if you could share your role and what you're supposed to do today, followed by the timer. If you could share what you're going to do today and share with everyone. Dwayne.
Dwayne White, your grammarian, and the role of the grammarian counter is to exactly what it says, count the ahs and the ums. Because as Toastmasters, what we're trying to do is, as we evolve and develop in our speeches, we want to minimize the ahs and the ums. And usually how we do that is over time, we learn to just pause and think about what we're going to say and how we're going to say it. I've also, as the grammarian, I give you your word of the day. The word of the day, the purpose of that is at each Toastmasters meeting, we try to learn a new word to increase our vocabulary and hoping that we can grow at the same time, and as far as our vocabulary and speech is concerned.
Thank you, Dwayne. Move right over to the timer.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Good evening. Well, good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and to our guests. I'm honored to serve as the timer today. My role as timer is pretty basic and simple because we learn in Toastmasters that we don't have an unlimited time to communicate our thoughts and words and our expressions. And so each portion of our meeting is timed. I will be timing our prepared speech, which is timed from 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I will show the green background. At 6 minutes, I'll show the yellow background, and at 7 minutes, I will show the red background, and the red background will remain up until the speech is completed. For our table topics, the minimum time is 1 minute and the maximum time is 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I'll show the green background. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will show the yellow background. And at 2 minutes, I will show the red background. And the red background will remain until the speakers are finished. For our evaluation, speech evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I'll show the green background. At 2 minutes, 30 seconds, the yellow background. And at 3 minutes, I'll show the red background. And that will remain until the speaker is complete. At the conclusion or towards the end of the meeting, when called upon to give a report, I will provide us with details in terms of how timely we were in our meeting today. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, both the County Grammarian and the timer. Thank you for that well-explained explanation of your duties today. Grammarian Dwayne White, if you can put the word of the day in the chat box, we can reference that as we go through the meeting. I want to make this fun, so definitely, if someone do, while they're speaking, speak to the word and have the word of the day in their sentence, just let's snap our fingers to recognize that. How about that? Excellent. We're going to move forward. Thank you for that. Our other members who are going to help with this meeting will introduce themselves as we go through the meeting. So we're going to begin part 1 of the meeting, and that is the prepared speeches. This gentleman yields from Accokeek, Maryland. He currently stays in the Baltimore County area, Baltimore, Maryland. And I had the pleasure of meeting him just a few months ago. But he brings so much experience that we had to hook him and pull him into our club. But this gentleman brings a beautiful, huge smile. If I had to describe this gentleman in 3 words, it would be outgoing, a great orator, and auspicious. This gentleman I bring to you today goes by the name of Greg Harris. He's our speaker. He's going to be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes, as the timer mentioned earlier. The title of his speech is A Matter of the Heart. So I would like to present to some and introduce to others. Greg Harris, A Matter of the Heart. A Matter of the Heart, Greg Harris.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day. Good morning, Toastmaster. And in the child development arena, it thrives to open to children that and abuse. And like the author said, it's not a, it's an adventure. Because these challenges, many times,
I'm going to jump in really quick, and I apologize. So Greg, you're going in and out, and I believe when you step back, we lose you. So I want you to do it one more time. Do a test auto, and I want you to say your full name and your title in a space where you are comfortable. We could let you know how you're doing.
Greg Harris.
Yeah, you're still going in and out. So what we're going to do, we're going to press forward because that's what we do in Toastmasters International. What I would love for you to do for us, Greg, if you can dial in your phone, what you're going to do is in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a green box with a check mark in it. Once you dial in, you're going to put in that meeting ID number, and then it's going to ask you for the participant code. And that way your picture and your phone will be married together. Okay, do that. And what we're going to do, we're going to segue, we're going to move forward because that's what we do. We're going to throw the football, call an audible, and throw this to our table topics master. So what I'm going to do is introduce our table topics master. Miss Felicia Rowe is a member with CMS Toastmasters. This young lady brings fire. So when they made the song, This Girl Is on Fire, that's who they were talking about. So I'm going to present to some and introduce to others our table topics master while our speaker gets it together with his cell phone. Miss Felicia Rowe, our table topics master. You have the virtual lectern.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, and welcome to everyone who is in this demo meeting today. I'm so excited to meet you. As Cynthia mentioned, I'm Felicia Rowe. I'm with CMS Toastmaster, and I'm actually the Vice President of Public Relations. So always wonderful to meet new people because I'm always looking for guests for our club. So if you are interested in visiting our club, as a true PR VP does, I invite you to join us. So now, the moment of truth. We're looking for table topics. The table topics is your opportunity to practice your impromptu speaking skills. So as Toastmasters, one part of our journey is learning how to communicate better in our prepared speeches, but then you also need to work on your impromptu speaking, those moments where someone calls upon you and you have to give us concise, well thought out opinion in 2 minutes or less. So that's what we're going to do here. I always like to start table topics demos with someone who is maybe a little more seasoned so you can get the flavor of how it goes. And then I'm going to call on one of our guests, maybe someone who hasn't done it before. So prepare yourself. The questions are usually softball questions and they are easy and they give you a wide range of space to give your opinion or your thoughts on it. So without further ado, I'm going to call on someone, and Cynthia is always my road dog when I go to PR presentations. So Cynthia, would you mind being our first table topic speaker?
Well, I don't mind, but like a true professional that I am, or athlete that I am, I'm going to throw this softball to Mervyn Bierman.
Oh, Mervyn, you've been called in for a sub.
I'm ready, Coach. Put me in.
Awesome. Always be ready when your number is called. I love it. Okay, Mervyn. Why Toastmasters? Why Toastmasters? Mervyn, over to you.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, most esteemed guest, thank you for that insightful and hard-hitting question. Yeah, we do what we can. Why Toastmasters? An excellent question that deserves an excellent answer. And it can't be answered in 2 minutes. What I can say is that it's an opportunity to exercise the mind, the voice, and the personality to be able to reach, either in person or electronically, a wide-ranging audience and be able to articulate your thoughts, ideas, concepts without befuddling the entire audience. It's important that we as people be able to communicate and interact with a minimum of, let's call them barriers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 1 minute. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Without befuddling our audience. That is task number 1 as a Toastmasters, am I right? And so along those lines, I have another question that I would love to ask perhaps one of our guests. Let's see, who do we have here? Kathleen, it's a pleasure to meet you. Would you mind doing a table topics for us?
Not at all, Madam Table Topics Master.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is a good one. That I just thought of this off the top of my head. Befuddle me not. What is your communication style? Befuddle me not. What is your communication style? Kathleen.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I am in a constant state of befuddlement with my communication style, as it tends to vary depending upon what I am doing in my life and what I am studying at the time. One thing that I love to do is teach. And I get to do this regularly with the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Go Hawks. Very excited about that. One reason to move to Maryland. However, as I progress as a professor, I find that my communication style will shift over time and over the different semesters, depending upon the students that I'm dealing with, what levels they are at, as well as what programs they are in. Now, everyone knows I'm not a huge fan of golfing, even though my boyfriend loves to golf, and so does my father. I find golfing is a place that my horses should be able to roam free. That's a different story. Not allowed on a golf course. My golf students, I have to communicate with differently than my other students because all they see is sports. They don't know anything else but that stick and those balls, and the ball has got to go in the hole. And that is their focus. However, I'm trying to build up entrepreneurs, and they are befuddled by my instructions as to what they need to do to get there. Hopefully one day my communication style will shift in the direction that is going to be the most useful to each and every one of my students. Madam Table Topics Master.
Awesome, awesome. That is so important to have what I like to call a fluid communication style, right? Communication for all occasions. And speaking of communication, we have our speaker back, Greg Harris. So we want to do a quick audio check. Greg, if you wouldn't mind speaking your name and your speech title so that we can hear you and see you.
Greg Harris, A Matter of the Heart.
There we go. Sounds like
We
we've
rocking
got-
and rolling. Are we rocking and rolling?
We are
we ready to
rocking
rock
and
and roll?
rolling. The virtual tech monster has struck again. It's getting you all day, Greg. I don't know.
I got to switch up my systems.
All right. Well, I will hand it over to you, Greg.
Felicia, let me introduce him, just his name and title once more to get us back on schedule. Excellent. Thank you all for taking that audible and running with it. So what we're going to do now is go back to part one and hear our speaker who has prepared a speech for us. Again, Greg Harris, A Matter of the Heart. A Matter of the Heart, Greg Harris. You have the virtual lectern.
Thank you, table. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster members and guests. The child welfare mental health arena requires homes and families that are open to receive children that have been challenged by neglect or abuse. Many times these homes and so forth are struggling with different aspects of these kids that they know not of. And many times, like it says in the Army, it's not a job, it's an adventure. And many times it tests and tries the very matters of the heart. In such an agency, for 10 years, I was the director of admissions. With admissions, what we do is we are the ones that reach out to the local departments and bring children into our network and series of homes. Many times, it is a perfect fit. In such a case, we will refer to the child as Jamie. Jamie was 6 years old and just a lively kid, loved your typical boy type of things and needed placement. We arrived at a placement with the Andersons. Anderson was a beautiful family. They had two older girls that were 2 and 3 years older than Jamie. They sucked Jamie up, immediately grabbed him into their household and just showed them the whole home and everything. The mom was trying to figure out his different palate and not be befuddled with his food choices and selection, always trying to figure out what he liked and what he didn't like. As you can imagine, Mr. Anderson, it was a pure joy. Now, both of them, Jamie and Mr. Anderson, had that kind of like brown blonde hair, and they were a perfect match. Like when you saw them side by side, it was a family match in heaven. As the family continued to progress and develop, at about around a month or so, what we do is we have what is called a family meeting. A family meeting is considered a roundtable discussion where all members have an equal opportunity to share thoughts and concerns. It was interesting to hear the girls always talk about, I mean, they liked having a brother, but now it's like, can you have him stay out of my room? And then Jamie is like, whenever I have to use the bathroom, they're in it. So it's a typical sibling kind of thing, family getting together, learning what's going on so that they wouldn't be befuddled. After the family meeting, Mr. Anderson approached the counselor one time and he said, you know, it has been absolute wonderful getting Jamie and incorporating him into our family. We go to McDonald's and we go to church and we go other places. It is perfect. However, I have noticed that when we go to other arenas, when we go to the church cookout, when we went to the fair, when we went to the rodeo, he wasn't near me. He stuck next to Miss Anderson. And I'm okay with that and everything, but I receive him as my boy. And so the counselor that had pretty good relationship with Jamie, he said, well, let me talk with him and see what the matter is. The counselor pulled Jamie aside and he said, man, I know you love this placement. It looks like you're fitting right in. Jamie's like, yeah, have you seen my bed? It's a race car. What kid wouldn't want that? And so finally the counselor asked him and he says, hey, is there anything that's troubling you? Anything that's a challenge? Immediately, Jamie got kind of quiet and then began to cry. And he opened his heart and began to share with the counselor. After the counselor heard Jamie's heart, he comes out of the room and he pulls Mr. Anderson to the side. And he says, Mr. Anderson, he says, yeah. He says, you have a belt buckle. He says, a belt buckle? Oh, yeah, belt buckle. Got that from my pawpaw. Yeah, see, back in the day, my pawpaw was a rodeo star and he won a championship. So I got that buckle and it's like a championship trophy. It's a perfect discussion piece wherever I go. I wear it specifically when we go to like the fair, when we go to the rodeo, what about it? Counselor said, well, sir, Jamie is a product of domestic violence. And his father had a belt buckle like that, Charlie Pride, Willie Nelson size belt buckle, and used it as a weapon against his mom. And so it automatically sets him into a flashback of abuse. Mr. Anderson was greatly concerned and committed to talking to the counselor and seeing what could possibly happen to change this dynamic. It wasn't long, like about 2-3 days. And he called the counselor and he said, hey, guess what? As I considered and thought about this thing and said, okay, I'm gonna put the belt buckle away. When I opened the box, there was this medallion in there. So this is perfect. All I gotta do is put it on my lapel like that, and it just replaces, and it's a little bit smaller, I understand that, but it's a discussion piece nonetheless. He says, we're gonna have an event coming up this weekend. I'm gonna wear that instead, and I'm gonna let you know how it went. And the outcome of that, everything went well, and the family continues to develop and bond. And that, my friends, is a typical example of how in this work we see challenges and matters of the heart. Thank you, Table Topic Master. Thank you, Toastmaster members.
Well done. Thank you for that speech. I could share so much back, but I'm going to allow our evaluator to do that. And that brings us to that segment of the meeting. We're going to move right into the evaluation. Again, mentioned earlier, I'm not the only one in this rodeo. So I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator who will explain his role and the third portion of this meeting. General evaluator, Mervyn Bierman, a friend of mine. Mervyn, you have the lectern.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. As general evaluator, my job is very wide-ranging. I'm responsible for the overview of the meeting. I start before the gavel and I end after the gavel. I'm looking for things like an agenda prepared, a meeting place, the technical overviews, those sorts of things. But I can't do this alone. And what's necessary is a team. And as part of that team, I have the privilege of introducing the speech evaluator for the prepared presentation you just heard. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great personal pleasure to introduce to you the evaluator, Kathleen Davis. Madam Davis.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Before giving my evaluation, I would like to explain what my duties are as the evaluator for the prepared speech. When a person is giving a prepared speech, the evaluator should be reaching out to that person ahead of time and discussing with them what they are trying to improve upon and give suggestions about things that they need you to look for within their speech. And it gives you a chance to discuss the purpose of the speech with them, especially if it is tailored towards anything like a speech contest for competition, or if it is something that they are working on within our educational program of Pathways. Now I will give my evaluation of the speech for Mr. Greg Harris, A Matter of the Heart. Greg, I have not heard you speak before, and I would say I was very delighted today. Thank you for looking professional on Zoom. Thank you for standing up and giving your speech on Zoom as if you were in person. Are you not able to hear, Greg? Greg, can you hear? I think we might have lost Greg.
Okay, let me text him. I
Okay.
mean, chat him.
Because I want Greg to receive the benefit of the evaluation from someone who he does not know. No worries, Ms. Williams.
Okay, I just
Okay.
chatted, asked, can he hear us? We're gonna see. He can hear you.
All right, let's continue then. Thank you for being a professional, even when on Zoom. This is a new environment for many people, and having the ability to be a professional and deliver a very competent speech, whether in person or on Zoom, are two different skill sets. One that I think is very important for all of us to practice in both. Greg, your story about matters of the heart really resonated with me. I'm very impressed of the work that you have done, and it was nice to get to know you a little bit within your speech, knowing that this is a job that you've done. So thank you for sharing that with us. The audience was definitely captivated by your story, and I could see that by their expressions and the nodding of the heads, and that is always good to see. Your clarity of speech and your timing of how you spoke was very well done. We could hear you clearly once we got past some of the technical issues. And you gave us a little bit of insight with who you are and your story by adding some of that vocal variety into the different voices of the daughters and then the new son coming into this family. Some things that you might want to consider to work on. I know I can hear, and I'm sure the grammarian on counter is going to give you some of this as well, but your favorite word is like, kind of like, now it's like, everybody likes. And that is something that is normal, right? When we are talking about typical types of conversations, we tend to go back on what we know and use the words that we know the best. I would be careful with that and maybe even pause a little bit more when you go into those different moments of vocal variety in telling your story. Lovely that you said the word of the day twice. Fantastic within your speech. Excellent job on that. The challenges of the heart that pull the entire story back around. Great way to bring the story home and bring that idea back into the ending of your story, because now we will not forget that. I'd like to hear you do some more speeches, and hopefully with this speech, maybe work on a few of those issues. And I think you'll have a great competition speech if that is what you're looking to do. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator. A wonderful job as always. I now have the opportunity to call on our esteemed timer, who will provide the timing report. Mr. Timer.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and to all of those who had speaking participants. We did a phenomenal job in adhering to the time, and I'm happy to report that as part of our report. The prepared speech was to be timed 5 to 7 minutes, and Toastmaster Harris, your time was 6 minutes, 47 seconds. For table topics, Toastmaster Berman, your time was 1 minute, 15 seconds. Toastmaster Kathleen Davis, your time was 2 minutes, 4 seconds. And Toastmaster Davis, Distinguished Toastmaster Davis, as evaluator, your time was 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Mr. General Evaluator, that concludes my report. Hopefully, no one was befuddled by the timer.
I tend to give you credit for one more word of the day. Well done. I now turn to the counter and grammarian, who has the difficult job of not only listening to every word spoken, but be able to interpret what he or she hears during that extended period. Mr. Counter.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Part of the all counter, I did not see or hear a lot of imperfections as it relates to my fellow Toastmasters, because a lot of the Toastmasters that are here are seasoned Toastmasters. They've been around the rodeo for a while. On the issue as it relates to the word like, we have from time to time where we have clutch words. In this particular instance, I did hear the like, but I didn't hear it to the point where it was so bad that it affected the quality of the speech. And I think what's important is the quality of the speech. And every now and then, we'll put a clutch word in there, but it wasn't so egregious that we didn't get the essence of what the speaker was trying to say. I am absolutely, like my minister would say, hyena happy and peacock proud that we were actually using the word befuddled 9 different occasions. 9 different occasions. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So thank you, and I appreciate the word befuddled being used several times. Thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much for that insightful report. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've seen here today is a textbook example of a Toastmasters meeting in short, abbreviated. And that's to be emulated, it's to be repeated. If I could bottle it, I would. Ladies and gentlemen, we started on time. We overcame technical issues, not the least of which was the general evaluator having to abandon his original technical platform and go back to the laptop. I mean that in a most positive, supportive kind of way. I heard well-reasoned, articulate people who were striving to not only aid their fellow Toastmasters, but aid themselves. And in demonstrating the flexibility and time management that are key to a Toastmasters meeting. For example, we went from a speaker who was suffering some technical issues directly into table topics and smoothly moved right back. It was done with aplomb, with skill, with grace. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish every meeting I went to was this smooth. Truth be told, it's not. Just being honest. What I've heard is a dedicated group of professionals. And I, for one, would like to emulate each and every one. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the General Evaluator's report, and I return control to the Toastmaster of the day. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, General Evaluator DTM, Mervyn Behrman. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just finished an abbreviated Toastmasters meeting. Let's give a round of applause. Yay. As Toastmaster of the day, I just want to comment on everyone on the call just to say thank you for joining in. Thank you for being a participant, and thank you for sharing your expertise in serving in this District 18th meeting. This concludes my role as Toastmaster of the day to lead this meeting. I am going to turn it over to now our Club Growth Director of District 18, Wesley Gibbs. Wes, you have the virtual lectern. And again, thank you for allowing me to lead this.
Yes, and just want to say thank you to everyone who participated in this demo meeting. It was well organized, well put together. It was invigorating, enlightening. You think of many different words, but this was just a fantastic job. And now I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to just highlight what is Toastmasters and the value that it could deliver to you and to any prospective members that may also be interested in joining Toastmasters. So just give me a moment as I share my screen. All right. Everyone can see my screen? Thumbs up? Okay. So what essentially is Toastmasters? It is a worldwide nonprofit educational organization that truly empowers people to become more effective communicators and leaders, right? Toastmasters challenges you, regardless if you are an employee trying to advance the corporate ladder, or you're an entrepreneur trying to start your business, or if you're just an individual that wants to challenge yourself because you've identified that you want to work on your public speaking, you know, work on your leadership skills. Maybe you notice that you use a lot of filler words in your conversations, but you want to get over that hurdle and become a more confident public speaker. Toastmasters is for you. And the great thing about this organization is that it's worldwide, literally over 141 countries across the world. You know, we have members in almost all different countries. It really is truly a global community. In Toastmasters, we are celebrating nearly our 100th anniversary. It'll be next year. So we're getting there of 100 years of incredible excellence and you providing value to their members. And then, right, and I'll go ahead and move on to my next slide in terms of breaking barriers, not your budget. Now, let's be honest, we know that there are organizations, there are leadership trainers out there that claim that can provide you value, but they cost a fortune. But that's not what Toastmasters is, right? You're never in a situation where you're befuddled and questioning whether you've made the right choice on investing in your leadership and public speaking development. With Toastmasters, it's affordable. It's a one-time $125 charter fee. It's a one-time new membership fee. And there's a $45 semi-annual fee for members. And that's what you get for Toastmasters. And so but the great thing about Toastmasters here, the help is that this organization will work with you to assign mentors, experienced members who can help guide you into realizing your potential. Mentors that will help you step by step, crafting your speech from start to finish, understanding how to utilize vocal variety, how to understand your audience members, truly squeezing out your potential to ensure that you can realize your true abilities. And then we have resources that will help you how to organize a Toastmasters club. So that way, not only do you realize your journey, but then you can help others as well, essentially extending that ladder to helping people accomplish their dreams and become better public speakers and leaders. Right. And then to start your club, all you need is 20 members. 17 of them have to be new. 3 of them can be transfers from other existing Toastmasters clubs. Right. And there's paperwork that need to be completed, but with District 18, we have an amazing team led by Cynthia Williams that will help guide you on how to fill out the paperwork and submit it to Toastmasters and to get your club chartering and ready to go. And if you have any questions on just Toastmasters in general or to chartering a club, in addition to reaching out to Cynthia D. Williams, you can reach out to myself as the club growth director. And I'm very excited to help you on your journey to being a Toastmaster. I will now stop my screen share. It's like we do have a little bit of time. Does anyone have any questions, or does anyone want to take this opportunity to do a 2 to 3 minute testimonial of what has Toastmasters meant to you and the value that you have received since becoming a member? Yes, Kathleen?
I can give a small testimonial of what Toastmasters has meant to me, if that is helpful. And you would like to record that, that's fine. I did not know about Toastmasters. I had no idea that this organization existed. When I saw a sign up in the halls of where I used to work, I thought it had to do with toast, literally. And I like toast. And I was excited about this because bread is my friend. Not really. However, when they said Toastmasters, I thought, what? These people are giving toast, they're eating toast, they're drinking. I don't understand what they're doing. And I asked my father at the time, have you ever heard of this Toastmasters group thing? And he said, oh, yes, absolutely. You see resumes coming through with the government. One of the first things that we look at is what additional activities have people have done to improve themselves. And one of them happens to be Toastmasters. And I thought, well, what is this all about? I mean, we can all eat toast, we can all toast each other, we can drink, we can do all these things. Why is this a big deal? And my father said, because it's all about learning how to speak well. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. I'm a professional accountant. I've been doing this for a long time. I know my job very well. I know how to do what I do, but I don't know how to speak it. I don't know how to explain it. And I'm lacking in this area in my professionalism within my job and at my level. I went to a meeting and I was hooked. I loved watching these people. They were so polished and confident, and they were really coming from a place of understanding. And the way they made it sound of, we will help you and we are in this together and you will have a mentor and all of these things. Hey, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. Let's do this. And I jumped in with both feet, did not look back, and have continued to fly through ever since. I'll tell you that Toastmasters helped me find my voice. I had lost my voice and I had no confidence. I was happy to be the person sitting in the back of the room and looking at everything and purveying what was going on within a room, but I would not be the first person to put my hand up and say, I have something to say. When I did, I had plenty to say, and they were good points as well, but I could not articulate them well. Toastmasters and the group that I worked with in the beginning gave me that confidence. I must have said and 30 times within my first icebreaker speech. And one of the guys within the group said to me, congratulations, you haven't beat me yet. I said it over 40 times. And I thought, what? What are you talking about? Is this normal? And I came to understand the way I was speaking did not exude confidence from myself, and it didn't give the people who were listening to me confidence that I knew what I was talking about. And I went back and I practiced. And every chance there was to sign up to give a speech, I was in it. I'm doing it. And I kept my note cards. I kept all of my speeches. And then I came to understand that I can do this. I do have something to say. And I just need to work on how I'm saying it. And little did I know that sitting in the back of the room and being the last person to raise my hand was gone. Being considered to be number 2 always, gone. I had something to say. I had the confidence to say it. I knew how to articulate it. I knew how to share my thoughts, my concepts, and people listened and gave me good feedback on things that I could work on, things that I didn't even know that I was doing. And ever since then, I was able to walk through those doors of what I really should be doing, which is teaching. And that is my absolute love. And I thank Toastmasters for that and giving me that platform, and all of the Toastmasters that came with me on this journey and who still provide that support and that additional information that I need to be a better me. And all I want to do is be able to give that back to others. And this is due to Toastmasters. Mr. Club Growth Director.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Mr. Club Growth Director, there's not a whole lot that I can add to what distinguished Toastmaster Davis said, but I would like to say that I think in my conversations with persons who are a part of our organization, why they joined and why they stayed are not always the same. And so I want to deal with the why I stayed in Toastmasters. I've been a member of Toastmasters since May 1st, 2011. And this meeting today, this demonstration meeting, is an excellent example as to why I stayed. Most of the time, we don't realize that the world is not perfect and there are going to be some hiccups, there are going to be some glitches, and how a person manages those hiccups and glitches and able to overcome and move forward speaks volumes to their ability to connect with an audience, the ability to help an audience see themselves in a non-perfect world. I think as our society continues to progress, platforms like Twitter have introduced us to being able to say what we need to say in 140 characters or less, and the tolerance for untimed events. You may have been to retirements like I have, or funerals like I have, and somebody will say, 2 minutes, please, 5 minutes, please. And I have literally timed people 15 minutes for what was supposed to be a 2 minute. And I'm saying they need to be in Toastmasters. But I think the most glaring of all reasons in terms of why I stayed happened a few years back. The CEO of Apple had taken the stage as they were introducing a new platform, and the teleprompter went out. And he was befuddled. He walked off the stage.
Wow.
And could not continue. If you Google it, it's still on Google today. And that, I believe, is reason enough for anybody who sees the importance in effective communication to be in Toastmasters. Thanks, Mr. Club Growth Director.
Thank you, William. Anyone else have testimonial?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay. I can only connect and join with what has already been said. I have heard of Toastmasters for years, off and on, and it is the fit for me. It is the fit. And CMS Toastmasters, Madam Vice President of Education, and the President have been absolutely dynamic in the support of what I have and what I'm equipped with. I've been told all my life about doing radio, be a comedian, be an actor, doing all these things. But I was looking for something that could actually be the fit to help achieve and reach public speaking, motivational speaking, and things of that sort, with an understanding the dynamic of the work that I already do. And Toastmasters has literally been answer to prayer in achieving and working on those things. I'm done. That's it. I'm out of here.
Thank you, Greg.
Mr. Club Growth Director, if I may.
Absolutely.
I joined Toastmasters in 19. And I joined for all the wrong reasons. I joined because at the time, my boss told me that I needed that differentiator. I needed that little something to appear promotable, to be advanceable. And that's the wrong reason to join. I used to tell people I joined Toastmasters to meet women, and that worked out pretty well. But most importantly, I joined Toastmasters and I stayed because of the people and the ability to interact with very different individuals from very different backgrounds, from very different personalities, and be able to communicate in effective, positive ways. It serves me well when I'm on a podium somewhere and doing my teacher thing. I'm standing there with a stick in my hand, pointing at a slide on the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, on my fourth point, I'd like to begin by saying whack. When you can speak and talk to an audience, not have people on their phones or rolling their eyes or snoring in the background, you're being effective. You're touching lives. You're touching minds. You're touching people. Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest to you that that is the primary reason you should be in Toastmasters. Take that as you will. Mr. Club Growth Director, back to you.
Thank you, Mervin. Anyone else?
So Growth Director, if I may.
Absolutely.
I thought I knew what Toastmasters was. Before joining Toastmasters, I thought I knew. My mom had mentioned to me in the past that she used to be a Toastmaster, and she never quite explained what that meant. But in my mind, I visualized a steady stream of people lined up at a podium, taking turns talking to an audience. And that's it. We get in a room and we just speak. That's what I imagined Toastmasters was. And for years at CMS, where my club is located, I would walk by the conference room where the meetings were held, and I'd see the Toastmasters sign sitting outside, and I'd say, oh, maybe I'll go in there one day. I'll find time. Right now I need to go get my lunch. And every other Thursday, I would walk by that room and I would see that sign and I'd say, next time, I'm running late. For years, I was starting in 2009. I joined CMS Toastmasters in October of 2021. That's how long I thought about joining Toastmasters. But again, visualizing in the back of my mind that I knew what it was just people getting up there and speaking and not much more. I gave a speech that year in April of 2021, and it reminded me of how much I love public speaking. I'm not shy. I wasn't the one who didn't want to get in front of a crowd. I was always volunteering to talk. I don't mind sharing my opinion. I don't mind speaking up. Just ask my husband. So when I joined CMS Toastmasters, actually before I joined, I visited a few meetings. Again, in the back of my mind, there's just this queue of people standing at a podium. And when I visited the meeting, I realized there's so much more to it. And then I started to do my research. I went and visited the Toastmasters International website, and I started looking, and I listened to a few of the world champions of international speech. And I realized that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to not only get better, I want to compete. I'm extremely competitive in everything else. And this is the perfect motivator for me. So I joined to compete. But when I got into the club, I realized I still have a lot to learn. I'm very good at a prepared speech, but impromptu speech was my Achilles heel. The first time I competed was last year. I competed in table topics and evaluation. I lost at the club level in table topics. Well, if you're not first, you're last in my world. So I came in second, but still, I didn't do as well as I thought I would, which let me know that there's so much more that Toastmasters has to offer me and to teach me. So that is why I continue my journey in Toastmasters, and I continue to learn, and I continue to practice, and I continue to do this every single day. This is probably the best impromptu speech I've ever given, by the way. Just wanted y'all to know that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Felicia. Anyone else? Okay, then. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and give a testimonial. So I joined Toastmasters in 2017. At the time, I started a new job, and I said to myself, I needed to maximize my potential. I wanted to reach the highest levels that I could. And with that, I knew I needed to work on my public speaking skills and also wanted to build on my leadership skills because I knew that eventually in my career journey, I also wanted to manage and lead departments. And so with that, I knew that Toastmasters was going to be the right fit. But also, on another note, the reason why Toastmasters I felt was going to be important for me is that I have challenges with speaking and articulating my thoughts. I am on the autism spectrum. And for me, this is always public speaking is and just talking in general has always been a sore spot. But I said to myself, if I truly wanted to maximize my potential, if I wanted to reach the highest levels, that I needed to not use autism as an excuse. That I needed to truly step outside my comfort zone and challenge myself in ways that I knew it was going to be uncomfortable. I was thinking that the rewards were going to be even greater. And when I joined my club and started giving my first speech was good. I read off of my notes, but I knew what I needed to work on. And as I continued to progress with my speeches, I noticed that I was able to essentially give speeches without reading my notes. And I knew I was advancing in my public speaking journey. And there was some hurdles along the way where I remember one time where I thought I knew my speech, but when I presented in front of my audience members, I froze and I let my nervousness overcome me. And as a result, I did not finish my speech. It was humiliating. I felt embarrassed. But my evaluator at the time, she was very encouraging and she provided me, feedback on how I could improve in the future. And with that, that was in 2018, a year after I joined Toastmasters, and I continued on my Toastmasters journey, and I expanded on Toastmasters learning, becoming an area director, providing support to clubs and to their club leaders, and moving on to being a division director, to now providing support to area directors, make sure they had the tools to be successful to give guidance to the clubs that they support. And then it allowed me to move into becoming a club growth director. Now in this role, I have the opportunity to network and meet people, not just throughout District 18, which comprises of 5 different states: Delaware, Maryland, West Virginia, right, and Pennsylvania, But now the world has expanded. I'm now networking and meeting Toastmasters throughout the world. And I have an opportunity in a couple of weeks in a mid-year training where I will go ahead and get to collaborate with my fellow trio peers. It has truly been rewarding to serve in these different leadership roles, overseeing the strategy of District 18, identifying how do you grow membership in trying times. The pandemic is still weighing heavily on people, but nonetheless, there's still value in Toastmasters. And that challenges me to think of innovative ways of how we can continue to grow our membership base and how do we ensure that we keep our members invigorated, that they still see that there is purpose for Toastmasters, that there's still value for them to invest in this organization. And on a personal note, I'm happy to announce that I recently got promoted in my job, which was a awesome milestone. And I couldn't have done that without Toastmasters. And Toastmasters, without question, was the catalyst of helping me in not just in my professional career, but also in my Toastmasters career. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that there is real value in Toastmasters. It's not going to be easy, but I encourage you to take that leap of faith, to work with a mentor. And I promise you that you will see your potential realized. And in the end, you will find that it is rewarding when you realize your goals. So that is it for me. You have heard from different from our leaders, how Toastmasters has benefited for them. We welcome you, and we're excited to have you join our Toastmasters family. And with that, I'll go ahead and close this meeting. Again, I want to thank you all for joining, and we'll go ahead and enjoy the rest of your weekends, everyone.